Hey, everybody, welcome to Cross Training Midweek. Good to be together again. We are about ready to dive into the book of Revelation, and as you just saw from that past video, but I thought it might be just a little too much to ask the small group leaders to do a Bible talk. Revelation's a tricky book, and so today is all about just kind of an introduction into the book, and I thought just a video might be a little bit easier to do. So you're stuck with me once again. All right, so as we dive in to the book, one of the things I've noticed about disciples in the book of Revelation, or people in general in the book of Revelation, is they're in one of two camps. One camp is, oh my goodness, this is scary and tricky and difficult, and they just avoid it altogether. And then you do get some people that are super mesmerized by it, and that's all they want to talk about, and that's what they study. And so I don't know which camp that you're in, but I have been in more of the first camp where I've always thought, even as a minister, I'm like, I don't even know where to begin. And so this little time is good for me. It's the first time I've ever preached the Revelation. And I want to give you guys a couple kind of helpful hints here as we go through it. And that's kind of what this video is all about. And then we'll have some discussion questions, and it'll be glorious, which is a good word for Revelation. Okay. Book recommendation. So this is a little bit of an older one from Gordon Ferguson, Mine Eyes Have Seen the Glory. And it just goes through the book of Revelation. My understanding is he's actually written an updated version of this. I think it even has a new title. If you go to ipibooks.com.org, I'll put it right there on the screen. If you go there, you'll be able to kind of see there's some different authors from the International Churches of Christ who have written books. Steve Kennard has one. Those are obviously really good trusted sources because, we know those guys and what they believe. But I also think, for Revelation, I don't want to get anybody stuck in this is what it means type of thing. Well, we have the corner on the truth because I just feel like that's where a lot of people go wrong. And so I really encourage people to keep an open mind as you read these things. One of the books that we are reading, and this book is big, it's thick, it's studious, but it's called Revelation. I'm reading it upside down. 4 views. And what I like about books that say 4 views, these are actually some of my favorite types of books because the author even says, he goes, you will not know what I believe. He says, I'm going to give you 4 very common understandings of, in this case, Revelation. And it's kind of like leaves it up to the reader to decide what he thinks is the most reasonable. So he's not trying to win you over to his side. It's just more of hey, here's what different people think. I always appreciate books like that because I just feel like they're very fair, right? They're not trying to, sway you one way or the other. This particular one, the 4 views are all about it's all about this idea of when is this tribulation going to happen? When is the second coming of Christ? How does that all work? He even says he knew for sure what it was, and then after years and years of study, he's not even quite sure of what Revelation is pointing to. So, but what it will do is it'll kind of take you through these different, I don't know if that's doing it justice, but you see those 4 columns. He goes to the book and says, this is how you can kind of do it. Anyway, I like books like that, like I said, because I feel like they're fair, and you can learn a lot of just about what people think and come up with your own thing. So a couple things, though, for us to understand as we go through the book of Revelation. We're going to be starting it now, and this will probably take us up to the holiday season. We'll obviously take a couple breaks we got a big teen rally coming up, so we'll do a teen service, and then we've got the anniversary service. But for the most part, this is going to be what we're going to be in up until Christmas. So let's dive on in. But some do's and don'ts again for Revelation. Number 1, don't read one interpretation or watch one little video on YouTube and say, I know what Revelation is. It's a big mistake, right? Like that's like a proverb, right? Like he who presents his case first seems right. A lot of people do that and can just go, oh, okay, I heard this. It seems reasonable. Therefore, this is what I believe. That's not good because there's other reasonable people with different takes on that. Don't be dogmatic. So the person you don't want to listen to is the guy who says, I know what Revelation means. That's the guy you don't want to listen to because it's like there's like a lack of humility there. To be dogmatic means you're matter of fact, that you believe this is the way that it is, period, bottom line. And I just think with an apocalyptic type literature, it's a very dangerous way to go about. You might end up sounding foolish. So I'm saying do's and don'ts. Well, here's a do. Do your homework. And one of the things that I greatly believe about this book is that the imagery that you're going to read, you're not reading, it's not the first time it's appearing in the scriptures. All of these dragons and seals and trumpets and, all of these things, they appear all throughout the Old Testament as well. And I think that video did a decent job of kind of good job, I should say, of explaining that to a certain degree. But if you want to know, what are these trumpets about? Go read about trumpets in the Old Testament. They're there and they're pointing towards something. And yeah, there you go. And so to uncover Revelation, if you will, what you've got to do is what we do with every other book of the Bible. It's called exegesis. Exegesis. Again, I'll put it right there. And what exegesis means is it simply means to pull out the original meaning of a passage by asking, what did it mean to the person who wrote it? And what did it mean to its original audience? That is what we do, right? We do that through we just went through the book of John. That's what we do. Like, this is the background. Here's what they're going through. And what did Jesus's words mean to them? Well, that's the words it means to us. And most everybody does this, right? Like, it's not, rocket science, but for some reason, when it comes to Revelation, everyone loses that. And they just turn into, oh my goodness, Nostradamus, and this is the end of the world and all this sort of stuff. No. It's the same process. Like I said, the things that it's once been said about Revelation that everything that you've read in Revelation, you can read that in the Old Testament. There's nothing new. It's just bringing up the old imageries from the Old Testament, and he's putting them all together here. So same thing, go back and we got to figure out what on earth, why was this book written and who was it written to? So if you're excited to learn about, the explanation of what's happening in the Middle East right now. If you think, oh my goodness, we're going to crack the code on the number 666 and we're going to figure out what the mark of the beast is. And we're going to, all that sort of stuff. This 12 weeks, next 12 weeks or so is probably going to, you're not going to be too fired. You'll be a little disappointed on that. But if we're going to study it through exegesis, we're going to be able to use all of these things and figure out the original intent. And so let's talk about that right now. And we all read together Revelation chapter 1, verse 1 and 3. And so just a few things here, just to understand the background of what we're getting ourselves into. Revelation was written by John. It's most likely the Apostle John. There are other theories that it's a different John, but it's likely the Apostle John. And who did he write it to? Well, he wrote it to the seven churches in Asia Minor. Sorry about that. I was visited by my dog. Okay, and we're back. He wrote it to the 7 churches in Asia Minor. And let's take a look at where those churches are situated. And what you'll see is, he's writing to a specific region of the world where we had, there's 7 churches that are right there. But they're going through a little something that's really, really challenging. And what they're going through is the Roman Empire has reached Domitian is now the leader, and he is not a good guy. They are going through it. Persecution is going rampant right now. When you read the stories of people being thrown to the lions in the arena and all that, that's Domitian, right? So what is happening is there's this massive persecution that has hit the churches. And the book of Revelation is written to encourage them to hang on tight, even though it seems like God is missing, but to hang on because God will win. Can I get an amen? Thank you. John specifically wrote this from the island of Patmos, where he was in prison, and it even says that in the text, right? He was there because of the word of God and the testimony of Jesus. He was imprisoned for his faith, and that's where he's writing this one. And he even says it right here that these events are going to take place soon and near. So it's kind of giving you a hint that this isn't about like, all this kind of crazy stuff in the future and all that. And so verse 3 calls it a prophecy. And so a lot of times when we think of prophecy, what we start thinking a prophet's job is to foretell the future, right? That's kind of what we think. We read about in the Old Testament, so the word of the Lord came to me, and they kind of tell you what's going to happen. But a prophet's job isn't necessarily to play Nostradamus and to tell us the future and all of that sort of stuff. Rather, the job of the prophet is to kind of explain, hey guys, this is, like in the Old Testament, you don't change your ways. This is what's coming down, and it's going to be bad news, right? Like he's not saying specifically this is what's going to happen. And so like, for instance, if I were to say to a brother, hey man, you keep treating your wife terribly like that, you are not going to have a happy marriage and a happy life. That's prophecy to a certain degree. And prophecy doesn't necessarily look at the future. It actually looks at the past. It looks at, well, what does God say? What has God done? And then you kind of make your judgment, right? This is what's going to happen. If I say, listen, dude, you're super arrogant, you're super proud, this is going to come back to haunt you. Well, guess what? More times than not, that's true. But that's not me being like, Nostradamus. That's me looking at the words of Jesus and having a few years of experience now and saying, this is usually how this goes, right? Like, that's the prophet's job. And so what the prophet is doing here in Revelation is simply saying, look, you gotta hold on, man. We're gonna win. We're gonna win. It's rough right now, but we're going to win. So there you have it. There is our little introduction onto the book of Revelation. I have a few discussion questions for us tonight, so jump on in here. You ready? And I'll email these to the small group leaders, but let me just ask them to you right now. Number one, are you a person who loves to read the book of Revelation, or have you generally stayed away, been a little too intimidated over your course of being a disciple? Why? Or why not? Why have you chosen that particular path? It can be a good little discussion there. Secondly, what are you looking forward to of getting out of this particular series? I know for me, like I said, I've dabbled in Revelation, but I haven't really fully gone in. And so I've been waiting for this moment, and I'm pumped, and I got my books and I'm reading, and it's good stuff. And so that's for me. But what are you looking forward to getting out of this series? And then thirdly, let's talk about our hearts here. In what area of your life right now do you need to be reminded that God will win? That's what I got for us, guys. Have a great night, and we'll see you on Sunday.